On another matter, do you regret the role you played in ending the career of the former Speaker, Peter Slipper?
No, I don't regret doing what I did. I felt that as a member who lived in that electorate, that I didn't want to see that sort of level of representation again, so I joined the party. I became the FDC chairman, and Mr Slipper took another direction and deserted the Liberal Party, sided with the Labor Party, became the Speaker, and the rest is history.
Well, it's recent history. You asked Peter Slipper's staffer, James Ashby, to make copies of Peter Slipper's private diary. Was that appropriate? No,
that's not correct. I mean, I know that that's what's been reported, but that is not exactly the right description of what occurred. But what I can tell you is that I stand by every action that I've taken. What part of
what I just said then was not accurate?
Well, all of these matters have been canvassed and dealt with by the courts.
But you've previously admitted that you asked for the procurement of those diaries. You've admitted on the public record.
When you ask me a question, I'm trying to give you a straight answer, and the reality is that what we're now dealing with, the matters that have been dealt with Mr Slipper, with the courts and with Mr Ashby and his lawyers over a very long period of time, and I guess what we're reflecting upon is in fact old politics, not about the future. What we're discussing here today is not going to help where the country's going, and the matter has been dealt with comprehensively. So we can churn over it again, but it really doesn't take us anywhere, and what I'm about is the future.
But you're now a minister, and so that, as you would know, comes with it another level of scrutiny. And Peter Slipper was in fact acquitted by the courts, and it was about $1,000 that was being argued. Tony Abbott, by contrast, paid back more than that after wrongly using taxpayers' money to attend a colleague's wedding. On reflection, do you regret the cost to taxpayers of pursuing that case, the cost to Peter Slipper's health and reputation?
Look, I don't regret what I have undertaken, what I have done. Mr Slippers was able to make his own choices. He did so. The courts also fulfilled their roles. The reality is it's the Commonwealth that picked up that tab, and to try and make a suggestion that what Tony Abbott did and what Mr Slipper was accused of is in fact totally false. One was about actually taking dockets and changing them, in other words, changing documents to do with financial irregularities with the Commonwealth, and the other one was an interpretation.
The federal court found that nothing. Well, the court found nothing improper was done.
The point I'm making is that the two situations, there was no suggestion at any time that what Tony Abbott had done was anything other than a misinterpretation of the rules. What the AFP did was elect to take Mr Slipper to court because they believed they had a prima facie case of criminal behaviour. Brough didn't say that.
On referral from the government. Federal Court Justice Stephen Rares said that you, Mr Ashby, and another political staffer worked in combination for the predominant purpose of causing political damage to Mr Slipper. He said you'd entered into what amounted to a political conspiracy to advance the interests of the LNP and Mr Brough.
So, Emma, did you read what the full court at the federal court overrode that? You want to read that paragraph out, which said that was totally wrong, that finding by Judge Rares was wrong? Is that not what the ABC does? So when you have the full bench override that decision, is not that relevant to you and your listeners? You have just read out something that was totally discredited by the full bench of the federal court. I find that extraordinary. Why wouldn't you actually read out the paragraph which found that finding was incorrect?
It didn't quite find that it was incorrect.
Oh, yes, it did. Yes, it did. And if you'd like the paragraph, I'd be delighted for you to read it to your listeners tomorrow night.
The finding...
100%, Emma, 100% said that was incorrect and that I had no case. Why aren't you reading that out?
Well, there was never a case brought against you per se.
Thank you.
This was a case against Mr Slipper.
So, exactly. And when the matter was appealed, why will you not read out precisely what the full bench found? Isn't that what our justice system is about? You have elected to read out an earlier finding which was overruled by the full bench of the federal court. I find that an extraordinary thing for you to do.
Finally, I wanted to ask you now, ironically, you have carriage over the entitlement system, and do you think that the system does need to be overhauled?
Well, it is being overhauled, and Prime Minister Abbott obviously undertook to do that, so we'll let that play out. That's being done, I believe, through PM&C. I've had a briefing on it today. For my own rule, I have my own diary on my website for the ABC or anyone else to see. I have all of my entitlements, which I've undertaken to do, up there for everyone to see, and where I go, so they can ascertain for themselves whether or not I am providing value for money for the Commonwealth.
Now, Brough, thanks very much for joining us.
Good to be with you, Emma. Thank you.